Hello guys, welcome back to Cassette Confessions. And in this video we're looking at it's of a juggernaut, it is. Type of juggernaut, and quite a personal one, I would say. Maybe personal, sort of interesting, and also has a bit of history to it as well, which I'll get to now. So, where do we start with this one? So we go back to 1995, we do with this one. The video collection became VCI, or Video Collection International, how you put it, or the VCI PLC. It depends if you want to be more literate or how it stands out for you. Obviously, due to financial difficulties, they actually rebranded and obviously released tons and tons of VHSs at the time. I think just out of their fortune, really, if I know about that. So at this point we come to 996. It's in its full flow. I think it's only it only started back in September 95. This did. So there's new rebranding, new stuff. They did use the old artwork for, I think it was actually for the proposed layer stuff for 95. But I think that when they found they actually had to adapt and change the look and everything else, they had to remove the old one and put the old one. I think that's how it worked actually, because when you look at the 95 stuff or the early 96 releases, you'll know that actually they are quite similar to what the video collection were doing back at that time. So it's quite interesting. It is actually quite odd, but I always prefer it for it as a what do you call it? A changeover or a transfer type bit, of course. Very much, at that time. Yeah. So obviously that was going on. VCI was so in full swing by 996. They were sort of getting their own identity and everything else, of course. And then we come to this My Little range, which I'm discussing. I'm discussing 3 actually in this video, believe it or not. I own 3 of these. Had these for years, and it's probably worth talking about actually. So I think towards half of it is more interesting ones, just there really. I think I'll find out which one. Maybe later on I'll find out which one it is. So yes, these were released in 96. I think they were actually released I think from the spring of 96 to the late, so they've been sporadically, December actually. They've been sporadically released, they have, of course, and there's 32 in total. 32 VHSs, of course, so there's My Little range. Interesting. But it's worth talking about. It's actually worth pointing out, because I don't think no one's actually, I think some person might have discussed it, but in their own terms, no one's really discussed this whole interesting little bit of tidbit of history with this. So I'm not entirely sure why these came out, really. I think it's just, it's in the vein of the watch and play VHS range that they did. But this time there's no colouring pack or anything else, no colouring book, just a standard VHS treat-size tape, and there's a bit of an interesting selection there is, of course. Stuff that springs to mind, of course, you have Topsy and Tim, you have Rainbow, you have Count Duckula, one VHS released by Count Duckula, which is very strange actually, considering that's the only VHS released under artwork-wise by the Thames Video and VCI style, of course, which is very interesting. Sesame Street's got one as well. I think that's the only UK VHS that actually has a VCI ident on it, believe it or not. Yes, and that Little People stuff from that American 2D cartoon that New World Television or New World Pictures have done. Interesting. Well, not really. It's a bit of a weird choice actually. Christopher Crocodile is another one. Brum is another one. I think they did 2 of them. Wizardora, that was another one actually that was all floating around. They did 4 of them. Jesus Christ. I think only 2 might do, but 4? Christ. I think I mentioned this in that Path of Nostalgia video I did. Why too many Wizardora VHSs? You don't need 4. You might need 2. I think 2 is about the normal structure, really. Depends, really. But today we're talking about 3. 3 of these that are sort of related. Some I've discussed in the past, actually, with some of these VHSs. I think, yeah, probably. So we'll get to these now. So first up we're going to talk about is My Little Fourways Farm. This is the very first edition. I think this is number 3 of the. If you check the catalogue spines, it's number 3 actually. I think on this one. What we get, a brilliant cover of Godfrey coming through the ice, of course, which is fantastic, memorable. The sketches actually come from the books, the tie-in books they released at the time. I think the same time the episodes were released, so they actually did some good use of putting them on, which is decent enough, really. So yeah, so we only got 3 stories to go through. They're actually, I'll break down the stories, of course, indeed. The green edition, of course. I'm not talking about like a blue edition. Or if else, in the thumbnail, there'll be the green edition. So we've got a drop of the hard stuff, classic episode. I'll probably get some more eventually with that. You might know where I might lead to, who knows. But it's one of my favourites, all-time classics. People know this one. It's been used in advertising in the promos and everything else. So it's a relative favourite, this, of course. That's taken from the Ups and Downs VHS, Ups and Downs and Other Stories from 95, if you wish to know. Next up we go is Sunflowers. Now this came from the Moonstruck and Other Stories VHS, which I don't own, unfortunately. So it's interesting. So we get some indication, of course. Sunflowers, it's a nice idea because it talks about the photosynthesis, plant life, and just a competition, of course, how, you know, with sunflowers and flowers growing and everything else. You know, what's the right instructions and everything else how to plant flowers or plants in particular or anything really. It's a decent one. It is, and it's very nice. You know, it's I can't remember much about it, but I think it'll probably be a classic among people who have actually seen the show. It might be among there in like a top 5 or something, of course. But Sunflowers, it's decent enough. And then finally we got there's only 3 on this one. What's it called? Animal Magnetism. This is from the Buried Treasure and Other Stories VHS, again from 95. Well, I don't own, unfortunately, but it's on YouTube. It is VHS ripper. It's done by Jimmy Sapphire. It's on YouTube. You can watch it anyway. It's included on there. Animal Magnetism. Another favourite of mine. This is a really good episode. Of course, the title suggests magnets and everything else. The use of a magnet and, you know, against different bits and pieces, old steel, copper, rust. You know, maybe not use of wood and everything else. I like the idea that the rats tend to use it as a way of, you know, like, it's like, what do you call it, round of luck, of course. They use Godfrey's horseshoe, and they basically just cheat by sticking their head under Trio's head. I think that's Trio. Yeah, it is. Is it Trio or is it Uno? Uno. Probably is, really. So they basically stick on his head, moves of course, and the animals are absolutely amazed. I think what happens was, afterwards they overpower it, or the male sort of overpowers, and he comes through the table, which is pretty interesting, very funny. And it sort of comes to the decision that Godfrey is no longer proud or special and stuff like that. You know, like they basically conned him for that, for food, which is a thing that tends to happen in stories like that. You know, they tend to con animals, the farm animals, for food. The rats do. You know, into dog biscuits, cat food, apples, just a little bit of grass, really. But it's a fun one, it is. It's a nice one I remember fondly. I remember watching it recently with the Buried Treasure VHS and Other Stories. I still remember that, actually, because it, you know, it's quite familiar. It's quite a memorable story among those other ones, really. So that's good. So it's a nice little decent VHS. Street Side State. They picked some nice ones, of course, decent ones. They did another one, the Blue Edition, that contains Sound of Music, Buried Treasure, and Three of a Kind on that one. Again, from the same VHSs. You know, Moonstruck, Ups and Downs, and Buried Treasure. Nothing from Portsmouth Fort. A bit strange, really, but I think as a Street Side State, they have to really simplify everything down, I think. You know, just the 3 stories. But other than that, fantastic VHS, memorable, good artwork, which is there, really. Next up we got is Milo, Rosie and Jim. The orange edition, there's 2 of them. There's a red edition that contains babies, flower baskets, and pony riding. And this actually contains the 3 stories that begin with S, believe it or not. This is funny. First up we've got is Steam Train. That's taken from the Gingerbread Man and Other Stories. It's a fantastic story. I actually cover that on the VHS of that. I've covered it. It's a little funny story. Great. It's a memorable story from the Power Hunchins era. So it's another favourite of mine, of course. Again, because I've seen it many times on this one and that one, and Gingerbread Man and Other Stories. So yes. So it's memorable. Splash Splosh. It's alright. I don't think, you know, I can't really say, because it's another one that I remember as well. Although it's appeared one later down the line, of course. But other than that, it is, I think it's alright. It's nice, actually. Just do with Pat going to a nursery and just doing painting stuff like that. You know, it's like causing havoc, really. That's from the Lovely Bananas and Other Stories VHS. I'd probably say it's a decent episode. I can't remember much about it, but it's just there. And then finally we've got Sneezes from Don't Get Lost in Other Stories, and one I don't own. Another decent one, actually, because You know, Pat has a cold, goes to doctor's surgery. Again, that's all multiculturalism is present throughout. When you see like a, what do you call it? I can't say. I don't know. Hindu, Muslim doctor or something like that, and just say about that. No offense to I feel I'm not, you know, that sort of thing. But does it? Well, let me skip it over. It's a decent one, of course, and just shows that visiting doctors get well and stuff like that. It's just like one of those. It's a simple story, simple episode. It's more of a simple episode, of course, but not much real surprises with that one. But it's all right, really. So, Rosie and Jim, Orange Edition. Oh no, it's not a steam train. It's not a steam train, but I just call it the Orange Edition, really. So fair enough. So that's what they've done. And then finally, we have got My Little Thomas Township and Friends video. Now, this actually is the last VHS, I believe so, the 11th and final VHS that was given to me by a guy called John Peel. So this all run the short run. Well, most of its run started from Thomas Township and Friends in 1986, the original kaleidoscopic version, until this one. This little treat says VHS from the mid-90s, from 96. So, a bit of an interesting little journey it has. You know, rediscovering that collection. To be honest, this is the weakest VHS that I've owned by far. Well, not really weakest. The problem is, it's got 5 episodes from Series 1, which I have entirely on the first 3 VHSs. You've just got stuff from Thomas's Train to Trucks and Trucks on this one, and yeah, it's just like, you know, I've seen these episodes before. And it's just there. So it's basically, you know, a little bit of the same stuff, even though it's only short episodes, on 5 episodes on VHS. It's like, well, that's about it. There's nothing really new, isn't there? It's, you know, like if you look at Thomas's Train 17 Stories, that had 7 episodes I'd never seen before, so that sort of gives it a bit more credit. It does, to being a bit more interesting. This really doesn't, in a way. In terms of episode content, it's just like, well, there's nothing new there, really. The hour is interesting because you have bits and pieces from the episodes in like a weird, what's it called, like a diamond origami type style. It's pretty good actually. In the back covers, it's just basically the same with a weird circle bit on there, but it's a decent design. I like it actually. Very good. I think it's only used. I think the very first VHS, which was the mini vid, on that one, it had a different type. Well, they had the same logo, but it had a different type of artwork. I think it's like a prototype type thing. But afterwards, from number 2. From the second VHS that was released until the 32nd one, they all bear that similar design, which is nice. It's it's strikingly interesting. It's simple, but strikingly interesting. Yes. Well, there's some interesting things about this one, of course. In terms of, well, apart from the episode content, of course, because it's retreads similar ground. But there are a couple of things, really. 3 things, really. First things first. This is the very first Thomas Township and Friends VHS, or the very first VHS I've ever watched, actually. My only memory of this is, like, this was way back when I lived in a bungalow, this was, and I remember watching, I think it was that one, and I remember the warning screen for the VCI ident coming on, like the warning screen and everything else, but that's all I remember. Sitting on a brown cushion, I think face first on my stomach, and just watching the TV, which at that time was just a small black thing, really, well, was like a small square black TV. Very much back in the day, and this is going back to 1997. This is, so yeah, I still remember that very vividly. So it's that's my very earliest memory that is, you know. So it does have I have a lot of history with this video, of course. The other thing, of course, is one of my good mates and subscribers, of course, actually owned this as well. Robbie Douglas, of course, had owned it at the time. So a good friend of mine, known for 20 years, both had the same VHS. Mind you, another old mate of mine, Baz, had the mini-vid. He did. Back in the day, you know, he had mini-vid. We had, you know, the second one we did. But that's all remembers nicely. And the third thing, of course, this is actually going to be shocking, and surprisingly, it gave me a phobia of the VCI Island. I couldn't bear to watch it for many years, because how it looked, how it sounded, how the music was, how it's visually dark and quite, you know, I would say surreal and a bit misty as well. It was quite, really unnerving, really, for that, you know. And I just couldn't bear to watch it. You know, when the one screen and also you had Come On. When the one screen come on, I had to just race to the room and just hire somewhere, wait for the ident to come up to finish off, music to finish and just go off and carry on with the program with the content on it. Yes, God, yeah. So it gave me that thing gave me a full bit for many years until I've constantly maybe a few years ago I did, you know, courtesy of Simon Conway, a guy called Dalek 44. Fair enough. Cheers, mate. Thanks for that. You've just cured me from a phobia which I've dreaded for the past 19 years or 18, well, for the past 19 years or something like that. Yes. Yeah, but it's still a good one, that is. So I have a lot of memories for that one, I do, really, even though the content's just basically the same, just 5 episodes from the first series. It was interesting. You know, and that VHS range is quite interesting itself because you have an interesting selection. One thing that bugs me is they never do it anymore. Stuff like for Tots TV or The Wind in the Willows, they never actually did one of those, which is quite surprising because, you know, watch and learn, you know, and all this sort of stuff. They had a Wind in the Willows VHS tape, really, and it's quite a shame, really. It's quite a shame, unfortunately, that they never did one. But anywho, I've been talking about the My Little Range, well, 3 VHSs from it, and anyway, as always, see you for the next video, and stay safe, please. Please stay safe. Cheers. Bye.